So if our council members and or candidates would come have a seat, please, just to answer. Yes, please. Sit down there. And then we have a place to write down questions. If you haven't had that opportunity yet, you still can. Please continue to enjoy all of the food and drink. Thank you so much to the ladies of the circle for making all this wonderful food and Yesenia down the way. So yummy. And do we have everybody situated? Okay, so y'all are gonna pass the mic around to answer, and I will just yell out questions because I'm actually very loud.
Let's start with just an introduction of each, who they are.
Yeah.
Name.
Very quickly, like who you are, what you stand for.
Social security number. No, just
who you are, so we know.
Yeah, just who
Phil
you are.
Vaughn, currently on City Council. I live in Olympia, CPA, business owner here in town.
All right. Ashton Bowman. I'm running for City Council. What did she ask?
Just who you are.
Who I am. Oh, so Ashton Bowman, I'm running for City Council. I'm a homeschool mom of 3. That's about the most exciting thing about it.
Hi, I'm Richard Edwards. I'm running for City Council. I'm just an average run-of-the-day guy.
Bernie Rubel, 40-plus-year resident, retired about 2 years ago. Started attending City Council and into process improvements.
Crank up that volume.
How about this? Is that better?
Yeah, the closer you
Yeah,
are,
if
the
you hold
better.
it closer, it'll be better.
Okay, how's that?
Yep, thanks.
Okay, I'm Bear Goolsby. I'm a 20-year resident of Universal City. I'm a father of 3, brought the 3 up through UC. Had my business located across from Walmart here in UC. We moved it from Cibolo. I've been on council for 6 years, 8 years, hoping for 2 more.
And if you guys want, you can pull in a little bit as well. Seems like we're pretty far out. But all right, here we go. Yes, Becky. I'll give you this. Oh, you want all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't need that. They need that.
Okay.
All right, so first and foremost, I just want to know, this is not a debate. We just want to ask a couple of questions so that we can get to know you better. If there's something you feel a little more strongly about, then we want to hear your answer. If it's not something that you're super passionate about, pass the mic to somebody who is. If we think we're getting a little heated or passionate, I might throw out a really ridiculous question just to kind of bring it all back to we're all neighbors and this is a friendly format, okay? So there's that.
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is red. Thank you, Amanda, for asking me. All right. Okay, so for our city council members, because you probably know this better, the aviation development, can you explain a little bit what the goal and the plan is for that?
Next up, music off.
That is a great question. So the aviation development is looking at Pat Booker as a spine, 2 ends of Pat Booker. What we're trying to do is develop the 2 ends so that we create traffic, which brings in retail, and restaurants and things like that, which up our tax, the sales tax. So the sales tax is shared by everybody that comes into Universal City. My office manager does not live in UC, but she pays sales tax in UC. So the more sales tax we can generate by having more retail, restaurant, life at night opportunities, the better it is. So we started with developments at where the old Kmart, it was the Red Cats, it was the call center. Now it's the Mega Furniture. Now that has Bubba's, that has Orange Theory, that has other items based off of increasing that.
Home. Sorry.
Timber home.
And if we can do the same with the Aviation District,
Timber home.
then we've created a lot of traffic, a lot of opportunities to catch that. And we also feel like what we're looking at in the Aviation District is something that Universal City doesn't have, and that's a life at night situation, because a lot of us spend a lot of time in Cibolo and in downtown San Antonio for that life at night environment. So,
Vaughn, did you want to add anything?
So the plan is to build some things down there towards the end of Pat Booker that the council hopes are going to be attractive to people to come down there. I don't have any problem with the plan, but it's a lot of money, and we're hoping that we're spending the money wisely and it's going to turn into something. I would rather not spend that money and let a developer who wants to put their own money at risk and thinks it's a good idea to do it rather than us trying to force the issue. So it's not a bad plan. It's just not something that I think our government should be doing. I don't think it's our role to try to make this redevelopment happen.
Okay. The most recent issue in the meeting last Tuesday about the tax, the 0.5% venue tax. What can either of you very plainly explain that so that we can all have a very basic understanding of what is happening and why we need to be concerned about it?
I'll just give the facts, and you guys can kind of decide. So 20 years ago, the citizens approved a venue tax, which was to go to help the golf course because the golf course had a bond and the golf course wasn't making enough money to cover its costs. So that bond is being paid off this year. And so now that the bond is paid off, and we've been fortunate with good staff at the golf course, and we've had record numbers of rounds played at the golf course, it has enough revenue that covers its costs at the current time. So the question is, do we want to keep that sales tax that's going only to the golf course, or do we want to repurpose it to something else?
Or potentially get rid of it? Because it was an extra half?
You could potentially get rid of it. I don't think that's the best idea just because all the other communities are at 8.25% sales tax, so we might as well be at 8.25%. But what it could do is reduce our property taxes because that money could be repurposed to streets, which would eliminate the need for us to keep issuing bonds for streets or use our property taxes to do street repairs. The other thing to consider, though, from the city's perspective, is that there's a lot of capital needs for the golf course. That because it hasn't had a lot of extra money in the past, it hasn't been able to do the repairs that they think it needs or the improvements that it thinks it needs. So some of those things consist of more parking, a bridal suite. They do weddings there, and they think that they could spend some more money and get more weddings there. But in my view, that's a lot of money to spend that I think you guys should weigh in on. Do we want to invest a lot of money to improve that beyond the idea that it is now? If we passed a bond or put a bond in front of you and had you tell us, then we would know. The same thing with the venue tax, it would require a vote. So if we decide to give you the opportunity to vote on the venue tax, you would go tell us, do we want this to be a venue tax or do we want it to be the other thing? But the first thing is for council to decide what they think is best, and then that puts it in front of you guys. Either way, it's going to come to you as probably a bond for the golf course, or it's going to come as converting that venue tax into a general sales tax, or nothing would happen and you guys wouldn't get a say if we just do nothing. And the venue tax would continue and the golf course would get the sales tax with no end in sight. So I'll shut up now. Sorry.
Okay, about streets.
Wait. Just to follow up.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Just to follow up on that, since this isn't a city council meeting and you guys can have back and forth actual discussion with these guys, it's open for you guys to ask questions. One of the questions that I would say is, do you think there's any likelihood, I know it's possible, but do you think there's any likelihood that what you do with that money wouldn't come to the voters and you would just continue it on? Is that a somewhat likely event?
Right now.
Because of who's on council or just because of the current thinking?
Well, council has to make a decision first.
Right.
So if council doesn't want to make a decision, then nothing will happen.
Okay.
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Barry.
well, no, I mean, you just answered it. I mean, it's possible.
It is fun.
I don't know if you want to add or
Yeah.
it was too one-sided or.
No, I thought you explained it very well.
Okay, so let's let one of our candidates talk about that. Like anybody, 83 wants to weigh in on that.
It's called a business plan. Essentially, the city took over management of the golf course in 2005. Every year, council has approved the budget for the golf course. Every year, essentially, we've accumulated put our tax money, our sales tax money, into the golf course. To now, it's to the point where it's paid off. We still do not have a business plan for the golf course. We still do not have a business plan for the golf course. We still do not have a business plan for the golf course.
have a business plan for golf?
I think he wants.
I don't think we have a business plan for the golf course.
So basically, if we don't have a plan, we have a plan for failure. And that's exactly where the golf course is. Now, we have an upsurge in golfing. However, I've been in Texas long enough to know that if you're a rancher, you can only put so many cattle on your ranch. Okay? And basically the number of cattle you have in your ranch during tough times, you got to feed. Okay? So just like the golf course, there's only a certain number of plays that can be done on the golf course. There's only a certain number of wedding venues that can be had. There's only a certain number of celebrations of life you can have in a convention center. So basically, we're on a trajectory where there's no recognition of that. Okay? So it's continual expense without any revenue that was promised us initially. So I'd like to make them good on the promise to at least make it neutral, but they have to have a business plan. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you're saying that they don't have a business plan, but is there somebody who, an event coordinator or their accountant or whoever is in charge of whatever that part of that business that's going on? They said that here recently the golf course is doing well. Is there somebody that's tracking how many weddings they do a year, or and is that number is it public knowledge? Like when we're talking about like they don't have a business plan, well they seem to be doing better because of whoever's there, but somebody somewhere should be able to say, oh, we did 50 weddings last year. Well, there's only 52 weeks in a year. You see what I'm saying? Like who's accounting for those numbers?
Okay, if you do an open records request, which you have to do, by the way, in order to find this information out, you'll find that the events at the convention center account for approximately 48% of the time there. So essentially, over half the time, the event portion of the golf course is not entertaining anything. Okay, so that's 50% of the time. Now, you have to realize
Is that from 5:30 a.m. to midnight?
No. Those are days of operational days. So you have to realize that weddings ebb and flow with time, and celebrations of life happen when they happen, that sort of thing. And the number of essentially true conventions, business type conventions, is relatively small for the convention center. All right, but you have to find that. There's no place that you can look in the city website to find that information. I had to do an open records request to find it. Okay. Now the reason why we're doing well in rounds right now, rounds of golf, is because 5 golf courses in the area have closed because they haven't been financially solvent. The only municipal courses that are operational and making a profit are the same municipal courses that I recommended council look at a year ago in 2021. Essentially, I'm on record of sending the council an email that said essentially you cannot make money on the golf course with city employees, because essentially the city employee will take not only their salary, but approximately 40 or 50% more. I'll give you some numbers. In 2021, the number for city employee salaries was something like $770,000, but salaries plus benefits was $1.2 million. Okay, to water the golf course is $100,000 per year. So you have all these costs at the beginning, at day one of golf course operations. And essentially, again, we're in an upstroke now because so many courses have closed that did not have the benefit of your tax money. Right now, according to city documents, you are spending every drink at the bar, every wedding, you are paying approximately 36 to 39 cents out of every dollar spent there.
So one thing brought up at the meeting, I don't know if I heard this right, that you can't play golf if there's a wedding.
You can.
Okay, because I was like, well, that's ridiculous. But
Well, and that's what
they want to build
that's what we're
more
looking at
facilities for the wedding aspect.
is what do we do to mitigate that interaction? Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
I probably need to speak right now. It's hard down here.
I don't know. Big kids on it. Because the speaker is only getting
So the idea is that you would have a separation between the golfers and the bride, because right now the bride doesn't have a restroom in the bridal suite. It wasn't designed that way,
So it just needs some reason.
but because the golf course wasn't making money, looking for these alternatives, it's a great wedding venue. It's winning awards for its wedding venue side. To have a bridal suite with the proper amenities would put it over the top. Now, is that something we want to pay for? That's one of those things that we're talking about. Like Phil said, this is one of those things that comes back to you to vote on. What I'm looking at is the golf course brings 70,000 people into Universal City. 70,000 people coming in and having sales tax revenue. Again, that's what I'm looking for, is bringing people into Universal City. It is that opportunity. 70,000 people is a lot of people to spend money in Universal City. The hope is that that's one of our destination points. We take them to other locations throughout the city. That's what we're looking for. That's what I'm looking for.
I would question the 70,000 people that are bringing money into the city. Are they bringing more money into the city than it's costing to keep it going? I mean, are we coming out ahead? Hopefully so. When it comes to the golf course, not the conference center, that seems to be managed well. But the golf course itself, I can't find any reason to accept that it is just not sufficiently solvent. The only reason I can come up with is it needs to be professionally managed. It's an enterprise, it's a business, it should be professionally managed. And to the company that Bernie was talking about, I believe, is the one that manages Alamo Golf Trails. Alamo Golf Trails is successful and is returning a profit to San Antonio. And I think it would behoove the city council to itself go out, research and vet 2 or 3 professional corporations that manage municipal golf courses, have a proven track record, and then have we call them a town hall, if you will, and let these companies represent themselves to the council and the public, where the people can ask questions afterwards, as well as the council, and the council could schedule it or the agenda to actually vote on the matter and actually get a good management company managing our golf course. I think then we'd see a lot better profits. As far as the conference center and all that, the city seems to be doing a fine job. Oh, and the venue tax has to go.
I'm gonna bring it all the way back around, back to the golf course, and more of the venue tax than the golf course. The golf course is the golf course. We've already been told 100 times it can't be anything else. It's not gonna be anything else. It's a golf course. I'm not anti-golf course. We don't need to close the golf course. However, to continue to funnel money into it without an idea of where that money is going is a detriment to everyone out here that votes and gets to decide where their money goes. I'm just saying, if you want to keep the golf course open and you want to keep it going, obviously we have to do that. Stop having meetings where you guys talk about closing the golf course. No one's saying close the golf course. Every single person is asking that we change this venue tax over. So the issue is the money. It's not the golf course. The golf course is not an issue. The issue is the money that goes to the golf course. So I think my big thing is I want you, the citizens, to get to decide where your money goes, because it's not up to me as a council member. It's not up to anyone as a council member. It's up to you where you want your tax dollars to go. So my main thing is you guys should get to vote on that, not anyone else on council. I think it's irresponsible for council to think that they can speak for every single person in this town. I don't believe that that's true when it comes to the golf course. So my big thing with it is you get to decide.
Agreed.
Can I add on there?
Yep.
So, and this can be for anybody, but you were speaking, so I'll go to you. If you're in a position, or gain the position, or however it works out, what exactly, and this is for everybody, what are you guys going to do to move towards the goal? How do we build in, make the right decision for it? Because it's been how many years? If there's a difference between breaking even and turning a profit. And instead of being a detriment to the community, it should be a credit. You know, it should make so much money that it pays for this and it pays for that, and it gives a kid a scholarship and it fixes that road. Who out of you are gonna, if you're in that position, what's the goal? How do we get there?
Find a company that can do it properly, so we do make money.
I don't even know if
Because
it's,
obviously we're not.
yeah, I don't, like I said, I think the main goal first is to actually get all the information. So it would be really, really helpful for you and I and everyone to have all the facts about the golf course. Every single dollar and cent that comes in and every single dollar and cent that goes out. As of right now, no one has that information. You don't know how many weddings they do. You don't know how many rounds of golf they play. You don't know how much they're spending on happy hour to pay for this entertainment and how many people are attending happy hour and spending their dollars back into that. Did the cost you $3,000 to get this person here and 20 people showed up and spent maybe $1,000? Are we losing money? You don't know. I don't know. That's the very, very first step, is getting the city to be held accountable for what they're spending and where their money's going. Once we have all that information, then your city council members can look at it and decide where we need to tighten things up, where we can actually make money, where we can put money that, you know, that way we're making money and the golf course is doing a really, really good job. That's what I said, not anti-golf course. There's a million things they can do to make money. But the first step is figuring out how much money it's making and how much you personally want to fund it, or how much you want the city to have to pay for it itself.
We're talking about an allowance, right?
Exactly.
An allowance.
Thank
The
you.
same you give your kids for mowing the yard or cleaning up their room or
Yes,
whatever,
ma'am.
right?
Yeah.
But
And
that's a tough question. How do you
It
actually
is a
do
tough
it?
question.
to be fair, we'll let Bear answer for the city council, because that is a lot of what they're doing right now.
Yeah, thank you. Because my ultimate plan had been to get it paid off, take a couple of years to do whatever improvements, and then redo that venue tax at that point. That was my ultimate plan. But hearing what I'm hearing from people, it sounds like the idea of the upgrades, continuing it as it has, and then funding those upgrades out of that is not everybody's favorite idea. My argument is that I know that, you know, we make our house payment, we do a lot of things. There are times we defer things, and then, you know, you look up, you finish paying for your house. That is your biggest investment. That is the city's biggest investment. We'll put a little bit more into it to get it where it needs to be, and then we do away with it. That was my plan for years, because when I first got on, we saw that number. We saw what Bernie was talking about with how the golf course is constantly losing money. We started harping on them, and next thing you know, it is just coming along. It was just a constant harping on them. No, I didn't get into the weeds on every number out there, but we saw it.
Well, what's a little bit? Is it 2 years? Is it 5 years? Is it another 20?
This might seem biased.
No.
Now that it's coming up, has the golf course or anyone from the city presented what they want to do with that money?
That's what we're looking at right now. That's
Still early days is what you're saying.
this was, because again, my plan had been to do this. What do we need to fix? Here it is. Fix it. Okay, we're done with it and we're out. That got accelerated. So it's been accelerated.
Discussion started on the 11th, right? At that last meeting that was
It started the day Phil joined the council.
September, I asked for it.
It started
Right.
in September.
And yes, and we should recognize that wheels turn slowly. But I appreciate that you're saying you are recognizing that the citizens are kind of done with the whole thing, and so let's reevaluate everything we're doing so we can do it as a better representation of what the city wants.
Hold on one second. I got something to say.
Okay.
We mentioned a management company, and I can speak personally to the Alamo Golf Trails specifically. My father, who lives here in Universal City, golfs every week, sometimes twice a week. A lot of times at UC, but him and his buddies will go to one of the courses on the trails because they offer a discount if you buy a membership, and if it's included as one of the courses on their trail, that would bring people that also do that rotation. They do a round robin. Okay, we're going to play, this particular golf course this day. We're going to play this golf course this next week. It could get put into a rotation with other other ones that are on that. I mean, I don't know what the logistics of any of that
It's a
are.
management issue,
but
yeah, that's a good.
It's just
suggestion.
a positive or a pro in
Right.
that direction.
Yeah.
Originally, it had a management company, and that was tanking, so the city took it over. They've been snake bit ever since, and that's the whole. That's my understanding.
It's a difficult.
But to be fair, we're having record numbers of rounds. Like
Which is
people
good.
are telling us they can't get tee times.
Which is
so
also
I don't.
interesting.
We don't have a problem with
Getting
not enough play.
volume.
Don't we have too many cows on the field?
Would this be the right time?
Yeah, the
We
question
tried to
is,
sell the
though-
golf course in 2005, right?
Just
Would
sell
this-
high. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah, but
Did-
like
do-
if it is that successful,
I mean,
would this
doesn't
be the time to seek?
Doesn't it always come
buyers
down
now?
to whether we want our government to run our businesses or not? That's to me,
No.
that's what it should be. Do we want the city to run any business, whether it's a golf course or not? I don't care. Can we try? Is that an option? Can we try to do another RFP to see if some company will come and buy it? When it's number 3, hey, we got the number 3 golf course, come buy it,
In the San
and
Antonio
you
area.
can, we'll charge whatever we need to charge for them to have. But I think that should be an option.
I don't think we should sell it. I think it should be making money. I don't think we should sell the golf course. I think it should be making money.
Well, it would still.
And
Any
I
money
think it-
spent there would be going
Well,
to the city.
we have to look about, like I said, the public can't keep funding this. If you open up a business and all you ever do is get more and more money from your investors and you never provide a return, usually they end up calling that a pyramid scheme. Okay? I truly believe the golf course can be profitable. Now, there's some things that came up just the other day, so obviously it's more complicated than we thought. But the goal needs to be to get it professionally managed, to get off the venue tax, but it's obviously it's got to be done right. We just can't blink our eyes and say goodbye venue tax, sink or swim. But we do need to get serious about professional management for our golf course, because to me, we're being ripped off the fact that it's not making money like it should be. So we need to look into that.
Agreed. Okay, so just to change it up and talk about some other things, please come to the meetings, and maybe we should have the meetings at the golf course so that we can actually fill
With the
it
bar.
with more citizens to actually have the chance to be a part of the meetings. Anyway, so being very local to our neighborhood area, we have lots of kids in our neighborhood, as you see. We have
Balls running out in the street.
Yes, we have 0 sidewalks, we have 0 bike lanes, and we have kids who live across the street from each other and will be traveling across the street on foot and on bike. And our biggest concern is that we have traffic who people come from North Street all the way to the end of Forrest Trail, and some of them, even at 20, are not coming around that corner looking for children at play. So what, if anything, would you support us in to help this street be a safer street for our children? Because we know from Buck last week, we talked to Buck and he said that every door he knocked on, they said they want speed bumps. And then he said, that's never going to happen. And that was super disappointing.
Even though
Well, we're not asking for a specific solution. We're just asking you what could be done.
Yes.
Prior to answering that question.
Are you doing the Todd
Is
example?
going to add more traffic.
Peter's gonna drive by at 20.
They're gonna come down this street?
They can go down that street. When they get stopped, when they get backed up
Yeah.
at the corner of Kitty Hawk and Sunrise Canyon, that they're gonna Silver Spur or whatever that street is, they'll come through and go this way. And that will add traffic because the minute they know that it's a throughway to get to that end of Pat Booker on Kitty Hawk by Pizza Hut,
It's going to increase this.
they're going to have people coming through here who don't even know us and know our kids. And
It's a problem right now.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about that. So
but yeah,
you have
right
something to
now,
say, Respect?
because of the curves, they're blind curves, people parking on the street.
I live on
Well,
the
you can't even play in your street because I mean, you're a throughway. Like,
You're trying to add something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
You guys,
yeah.
hold on.
Sorry.
We're recognizing this.
Okay. They're right now, ideally, they'll turn right out of that subdivision and go to Hunter to Kitty Hawk. But as they said, it's going to be backed up. Was there any consideration at the time that this subdivision was planned to extend Kitty Hawk
over the creek.
over the creek?
Yes.
And or will there be consideration given to that, knowing that this traffic flow, these homes, these aren't 2-bedroom homes.
Nope.
These are family homes. These are, well, they're people younger than I, and they're going to have teenage driving kids. There's easily going to be 200 to 400 cars coming
It's a
out of
valid
there.
question, but not the question that we want her to answer right now. We want to talk about this.
I don't know when they made it.
situation.
But right now, what can be
And it's-
done?
yeah, it
But
is.
for what can
To
be done
slow
right
down our
now,
traffic.
so obviously all of you are incredibly passionate about this because you have children and you care about your neighbors, and I respect and appreciate that because I feel like the people who are the most passionate are the ones who care enough and are going to put in the time and the effort that it takes to get things accomplished. So with that being said, I think some of the things that I've talked about, because as some people have said, speeding is an issue for a lot of people. I've been block walking, Bernie has been block walking, Richard has been block walking. We've all talked to people, and I can't even tell you the amount of streets I've been on that have said, this speeding is out of control. It's everywhere. I mean, you guys are, yes, you have a ton of children, which of course, I'm a mother of 3. I care very, very much so about your children just as much as my own. But speeding is definitely an issue, and I think the best way to fix that is to have patrol out on the streets. I think what needs to be done is the city needs to, the police chief himself needs to figure out a way to figure out how many hours police officers are actually on the ground patrolling. Because it feels like they might be doing more office duty work or doing things that are more at the higher level than being out on these streets actually patrolling and looking for speeders. So my question is, can we support our police officers by either getting more police officers in, making sure their benefits are the way they need to be so we can get all the police officers in that we need to actually be patrolling these streets? Because if you guys don't have a police presence out here, nothing's going to happen. You can stick a sign out here all day long. It doesn't mean anyone's going to follow it. You can put a trailer out here that tells you the speeds. It doesn't matter. As soon as that's gone, people are going right back to the speed that they were at before. Honestly, what you guys need is a police presence. You need a police officer here that is actively patrolling your neighborhood, especially during the day when your children are out and playing, especially if you guys homeschool and you have them out all day long. You need more police officers on the street. As city council, we help set that budget, and we're supposed to be a support to our police officers. So I believe that's one of our jobs, is to make sure that the police have the resources that they need, the amount of people that they need. It was talked about today. It's been brought up by several people that we might be a little top heavy in the police department. We might have a lot of police officers that are getting those higher pay raises, but they're not actually out on the street. We need to be able to entice those people that are making the lower amount of pay, but they're the ones out doing the patrolling. And like I said, that's part of city council's responsibility, and checking in with the police department and seeing what we can help, how we can support them in getting the staff that they need.
Go for it.
I have a question. Do you really think that that's cost effective to pay police officers for years to come? As opposed to putting like 1 or 2 speed bumps that force people to kind of slow down? I mean,
a lot of issues with speed bumps.
you know, Jamaica calls speed bumps silent police officers.
So
I think that would be more cost effective.
Because our thing was, they had told us that it slows down emergency vehicles. Fine, we have a big speed bump that's gonna cause it, or it helps us with the rain, right? They still have to go through that speed bump no matter what. So is that gonna?
That when they repave the road, it washes, it washes the water to come right where that light pavement is, that channels it down the channel. That has to be there because it's flood control.
Their point is that we already have a speed bump, so to say that we can't have speed bumps because they slow down emergency response vehicles is kind of a non-answer.
I've been in neighborhoods that have fire stations who pull out on the street with speed bumps.
Yeah. I'm not
Let's
disagreeing.
let Barry respond,
Let's how
let Barry
many
talk.
speed bumps? Because it can't just be your guys' neighborhood. Then that means all the streets that I went on, they all get
Right.
speed bumps.
But they all want one.
I understand
You
that.
can order them on Amazon for like $100.
Which I wholeheartedly understand. I'm just saying, like, we would have to figure that cost out for everyone. And I'm not saying it's no. I'm just saying we would have to figure out.
I'll vote for it. Put it on the ballot.
Without,
We'd have to figure out the cost.
without talking city business, I wonder if we don't ask if we could bring in some of the first responders and actually hear it from the horse's mouth instead of. Okay, so that's, I mean, just that's something that I think we're gonna have a little conversation about. But as far as the speed bumps, exactly what Ashton said, because everybody wants speed bumps, so that's where it gets hard for us, because then next thing you know, every street in here, I live on Sunrise Canyon, you know how many speed bumps I want.
We trick or treat your house.
I'm sorry.
If everybody wants them, isn't that important, and shouldn't we budget for that?
Well-
If that's a top
If
priority
that's
for your
what we
residents?
who are paying taxes are telling you we want, then why aren't we doing it?
It's the slowdown of the first responders. That's the big issue for this. That's the whole thing with not having speed bumps throughout our town, is that to see that response time drop.
How many times are first responders called out because there aren't any speed bumps?
That's good. So just real quick, last year during the budget session, we ended up fighting for a additional police officer that works traffic, right? That was a one, and the last I heard, that police officer has more than paid for itself, and I'm hoping that we can look for another one, and maybe another one to do something like that, because again, speed bumps are great, but if that officer is paying for itself, I think that's the best route to go. And I'm gonna turn this over. She's got her hand up.
Hold on. I think that's great, and I think we need to recognize that this is not a quick fix, but if there's a plan in place, then that at least gives us the trust in you that you are respecting our desires and wishes and needs, not wants, and we talked about that at the Tuesday meeting. But I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but I'm gonna. So when we say we really want this and you say, well, it's hard, that feels like you're shutting it down because it's hard. We don't want to hear that it's hard. We want to hear that, okay, even though it's hard, we want to try to do something. That's what we really want to hear.
So in order for us to really do anything, the way the council works is we have to get 4 of us to agree to talk about an item, and that's difficult. It's difficult to present something at the meeting and say, will you guys allow us to talk about this? However, there's a little lesser known rule on our books that if a citizen comes and has an issue, personal issue to them, it only takes 1 council member. So if you would come to a meeting and say, we need a speed bump on this street in this location, I'll second it, and the city will have to talk about it at a future agenda. So then they will bring it back.
Not just here. Yeah, okay.
Now,
Gotcha.
they might say, we're not going to do it for X, Y, and Z, but you can at least hear the arguments, and then we can decide, okay, is this a good idea, not a good idea? Do we maybe do a pilot program and put one in your neighborhood and then see, is it a problem? Should we then roll it out?
How many signatures do we need for that?
Yeah, I like that.
No, it's not. It's a single.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, if you would come to a council meeting and talk about it, and with a particular issue that's for you, then if you get a council member to agree with you, then it'll be on the agenda. So it's something to consider.
Excellent. Thank you.
Which one of you, they all know, but not me, who all's on the city council right now? Okay, my name is Peter Arroyo. Have you ever seen my name?
No.
Okay, because I wrote all of city council, the mayor, the city manager, the chief of police, budget. I mean, I broke down every part of the process for this and put the head of each one of those and extras in an email chain. So I'm just curious if you know, if you've ever heard my name.
It would have been a month
This has
to
been
2
what?
months ago, in the last couple of months.
Yeah, in the last few months. And that
all the council members on it?
I believe so, yes,
So
sir.
like they're like
when you go on the website, whoever it has on
Councilmember
there.
2, Councilmember 3.
Yeah, I mean, I just went on the UC website and sent it off, but I got the city manager who is a little bit too busy to do anything, and then the mayor who decides they're going to forward it to the police, the chief of police, and then the chief of police who's going to forward it to his guy, which is probably the new guy that they spent money on, that in fact also speeds through the neighborhood, just like the other unmarked cars at the back of the neighborhood who also speed through the neighborhood. So I had addressed this issue. They brought out the signs. They did all that. And let me just tell you this. If there's a sign, let me ask you, and you don't have to answer it, but you can nod your head. How many of you have ever hit that brake or let off the gas when you get near a cop on the road? Honestly.
Yeah, real.
I did it the other morning.
Right?
Literally.
So if there's a sign here and an unmarked car right here, do you seriously think you're going to go over 12 miles an hour even though it's 20? Yeah. Absolutely not, because you don't want a ticket in a neighborhood with kids. So the little study they did, which is part of the process, I understand that because they do it over by your house. You should be more pissed than anybody because
We call constantly.
To have it or to remove it?
To have it, because I had a neighbor that was constantly driving super fast. I finally realized he's one of my neighbors when I saw him like 10 days in a row. Walked down, saw which house he lives in, went and knocked on his door. Wanted to ask him to please slow down. He wouldn't answer his door. 3 days later, the people that live next to me park in front of their house. Somebody ran into the back of their parked car. I didn't see that guy for 4 months. So I don't know.
So would you say that it's reasonable that, okay, so speed bumps is not the immediate answer, but Becky mentioned the other day, a traffic study, but not the radar, bus, whatever.
What about just changing the speed limit? Like, we're not trying to say, here's how you fix the speed issue.
Yeah. It looks like a water hose.
What are the options?
The traffic counters?
They're not rumble strips, but they time.
It's a radar.
It times
traffic
over
counter.
here when it goes off, and then it times over there. So math and a train leaves out of Huma or whatever, and it times how fast you're actually going, and it can't be biased. It would charge the same for my expedition as it would for Dwayne's Hot Wheels car.
Yeah.
Like, it's still there. Like, it doesn't matter who's driving it. It's unbiased and it's accurate, right? Because they used it over here.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's
I
a
think one of the
speeder
issues that
test.
we have is just that between these two blind curves, the 20 is too fast. The speed limit itself is too
It's not necessarily
fast.
that they're not going the speed limit.
Yeah.
Even going the speed limit is too fast.
Yeah, because if you look,
We would
back
love
there,
a
that
traffic
curve
study
extends around this way,
based
and
on curves and sidelines.
They call it a chicane.
Based on
Yeah, you
that,
can have
we
it.
have 20 under
Drive down real
20.
quick.
We have 20 kids under
But
the age of 20.
who addresses that? Who
Between
addresses speed
their
limits?
house
And when you come up
and
that
our house.
ditch, it's natural reaction to want to speed up because that's
Well,
they-
cities
that
have
ditch, they slow down, so
the
people are coming
purview
through,
to
you're accelerating.
do that,
To an extent, they have to go through the state.
but
though.
there has to be a study. There has to be the whole
It's just
Would
like,
y'all be open to that?
engineering
it's just
study.
like I don't know
My
how
problem
much
is
it would
they-
help
they-
right here at these
They asked
these
the public
what you
works
want to call
guys,
kill
and they-
zones at the corners.
Thank you.
Now, it would take special consideration of state. It would take special consideration of state representatives because the DOT does traffic studies and it ain't going to pass for them to put up stop signs.
Yeah.
But a state representative could attach it to a bill, get it approved, and you could get stop signs at those two kill zones. That would be the least expensive way, and it might even be the most effective.
I offered to pay for it.
A full stop.
But see, you can't because it's a right of way.
But a
The
full,
state's
full
involved.
stop would at least.
We've offered to pay
that
for the
would
speed
slow
bump.
it down.
It's always been my firm belief, if there's enough will, you're going to find a way. Okay?
Here we are.
No,
But yeah, these kids are needed.
we're kind of screwed up here because half the town's got one state rep, the other half's got another and all this. But if there's anybody that has any political connections or influence, I don't know, maybe even being on the council might get them to take your call. I don't know. But we need to get some help out here. What's the big deal with putting up stop signs, other than the fact that the law is that thick and somebody with the authority has to write it on a piece of paper?
Can we get
Well, we know that they changed this yield to a stop sign, so it can be done
Yes.
within the city.
Well, I'm thinking it should be, there shouldn't be an opposition to putting stop signs in either one of these two kill zones, period. And it might even slow down some of the bypass traffic.
Absolutely, it would probably eliminate a lot of that. All right, last comment on this, go.
I was 10 years old. It was Halloween night. My sister was 8 years old. And essentially, we're at a city park in Ohio. And the next thing I heard was brakes and that thud. And basically, again, I can still hear it. And it was my sister, but it was my sister's friend. All right. This neighborhood, and that stuck with me so much. This neighborhood I would have not moved into. It's a beautiful neighborhood, but I had kids. And so I looked for sidewalks. I looked for a place for them to walk to school. I looked for level ground for the most part, okay? I looked for no blind spots on the street, okay? So basically, that's what I did because of that experience. Now you've got unique problems here, and you need to slow down your traffic. You're in a cul-de-sac with neighbors. Essentially, my guess is if they would put a patrol car with lights on the end of the street for 2 days, and just pull people over and say, sir, even if they're not speeding, hi sir, the speed limit here is 20 miles an hour. We've got a lot of kids. Let's slow it down in this neighborhood, or we're going to fine you a lot, okay? So basically, the police presence doesn't have to be here all the time. It has to be here over a consistent period of time so that you can gently nudge your neighbors into compliance. The other thing I see here, obviously, is, the slope of the hill. Wow, that, for me, that's no-no. Yeah, a kid on a training bicycle, man,
yep.
they're in the street no time.
We have 25 of them.
25 of them. So basically, if I were on council, I would get you bumps, okay? I would get you speed bumps that would comply, no worse than the ones that are on what is it called, Phoenix, that Selma has, coming out of the golf course. You know why they have them there? For the guys that get inebriated in the golf course. Okay? So basically, Council has approved $660,000 over a 2-year period for golf carts, one of which is a beverage cart, okay, for $17,000. Out of the general budget, not out of the golf cart, not out of the venue tax. The money is there.
All right, so did you have it? Okay, let's change it up a little bit. So there are several questions in here that are all very similar. How can you, as council, be more transparent? How can you restore or build some trust? Because there are a handful of us who feel like, that old saying, can't fight City Hall, is entirely too true. And so that we get frustrated with our interactions at meetings, and or this last one, which is a little bit different, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Would you be in favor of being divided into districts so that we as citizens feel like we have a specific representative rather than a at-large, hope somebody agrees with me, you don't really have to treat me as a constituent because you're at-large?
Start over on this side with Mr. Vaughn.
Well, she's passionate, so I'll let her go.
A lot of us sitting here are all about transparency. If you watch the podcast, if you've looked at our websites, you know that a lot of the reason why most of us are running right now is because we're a little fed up. We've gone to city council meetings time and time again. We've used our 3 minutes to speak, and we haven't been feeling like we've been heard. So I've been going for 1.5 years. I've spoken at several. Bernie's spoken at way more than me. That man's a genius. So that's our main thing, is we felt like you guys, we don't have a voice. No one cares for us. We've had enough. We're going to run. Because my main thing is I want tons of transparency. I want every little thing broken down for the citizens to see. On a personal note, while I've been block walking, if someone's very passionate and says to me, you know, Ashton, I like what you stand for, I want this, this, and that, I want a yard sign in my yard, I've asked them for an email, because I think what the important thing that's missing in our city is we're not hearing from you guys. So if you guys care, I'm trying to get as many emails as humanly possible, so when these big things happen, not to email you all the time, but when a big thing comes to council, I can email you and say, hey guys, you probably didn't see the agenda this week, you probably didn't look, but this affects you directly, like the tax rate, like the golf course, things like that. I want all of your emails. I want everything. If you want to be involved, you got to reach out. I'm going to reach out to you first, but you should also reach out to me. And I think that maybe the disconnect for some people is they've emailed council before and not gotten a response. And I think that you lose faith in your council members if you feel like you can't get a hold of them. I think the hard part is while I don't disagree about districts, I've gone back and forth because I thought I see the pros, I see the cons. I just wish like we lived in a place where every single council member was so passionate that if you send them an email, they're going to treat it like it's their only issue. And I feel like that's what a lot of citizens wish. They wish that their council members took their emails seriously and actually cared about them a whole ton. And so I want to be that council member. So while I'm not against districts or for districts, I'm not sure where I land. I'm hoping that you guys vote people in that are super, super passionate and that they will answer your emails, and then you don't have to worry about that. But that's my big thing, is making sure that you guys are all connected. So having a social media Facebook page, I think, is very helpful. Having, you know, ways that you can connect with your citizens, and then they can follow you. That way, if there is something big, you can tell them. But also, put it on the city as well. When you get on city council, ask them for the monthly budgets of every single department. Ask them for all the audits. Ask them for everything that you want. Vote with Phil when Phil asks you to put up a Blackboard Connect where all the council members can throw out their ideas, throw out what they're interested in for all of you to see on the city's website. So when council member Phil brings that up, all the council members should say, yes, man, I am so for this. I want all the citizens to see what we're talking about at all times, and I want to get their feedback.
Yeah, what she's talking about is a bulletin board on the website. The state allows it as long as it's only one click away from the main page. There, we don't have to worry about quorum violations. The council members can hold their discussions. They can't hide behind closed doors. These guys know so much that we don't know. And I don't know how that is, because we're trying to find out. But as far as another thing we could do, you've got this electronic marquee over here on Kitty Hawk. It used to tell you when the library's having book sales and stuff like that. Well, it could put serious information up there. Things that are on the agenda, issues that are coming up, votes that have been had. I mean, right at about a year and a half, 2 years ago, they'd have been posted how the city is deciding to give a no bids contract to Waste Management Incorporated because it doesn't have to. I think there have been a few people get alarmed and come to the city council meetings long before that contract was ever signed. Okay? Withholding information is a hallmark of our city. Now, it may be with all cities. I don't know. This is the only one I've ever really got involved with. But instead of withholding information, it needs to go out of its way to provide information. You had a good idea about putting information on water bills.
Yeah.
Everybody sees their water bills. I mean, most of my bills I don't see. They come in. I handle all the bills I can on my computer through my bank, except for the water bill. The only help I get there technologically is when it's 1 day late. It's real good about letting me know I'm 1 day late. So then I can go to the website and pay it immediately. Other than that, I pretty much have to take it up and drop it off. And that's where I keep donating to the city 3 or 4 times a year. Anyways, the city in general, I think what we really have is a flawed philosophy. I believe the city council is of the mentality, like many other city councils, that their job, their focus,
is to represent the city and all the people who live here. Now, if you think about that real good, who comes first? The city. Who comes last? The people. Does that explain anything? Okay? I would like to bring a new philosophy to the, well, it's not a new philosophy, it's an old philosophy to the council. The original philosophy. That philosophy being that cities are created to serve the people. Period. Now, we're a home rule city, and there's two kinds. The kind we have is called council manager. The manager is responsible for the municipal government, handling everything that goes on there, and then presenting its wants and needs to the city council. The city council is supposed to represent the people, period. When the city council also represents the city, that's a way of serving two masters. And the Bible tells us about serving two masters. So when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, who gets forsaken? We all know that. Okay? It's a simple philosophy. It might be a radical change, but the idea is the people are supposed to be represented. The council is supposed to sit above the government of the city and ensure that it's taken care of, but it's managed, and that the city doesn't go overboard and start getting into people's lives where it shouldn't be. I'll get off my soapbox.
Well, transparency, if you look back at the council meetings in the minutes, you'll see transparency. At least 4 or 5 times officially at council meetings, to the point where I even have on the council minutes the state controller's phone number listed for their STARS transparency program. The STARS transparency program of the state controller's office is not for additional burden on the cities to be transparent, but it's for the it's planned to make the transparency for the residents of the city. Okay. When I first looked at it, there were 20 cities on that site. Now there are close to 100 cities on that site, including Selma and Schertz. Where's the Universal City? Including New Braunfels, including Buda, okay, and Mesquite, Texas. I can follow right now the daily pass entries of the search pool, and I can't find essentially what's going on in the golf course. I can't take a look at promotions and even with an open records request say, hey, wait a minute, 15,000, 15,000, 15,000, $309,000? Why wasn't that question? Oh, you know, that's there because essentially of Snowfest. It's backup funds for Snowfest. $100,000 per year. $100,000 per year. And at the end of the year, if it's not used for Snowfest, it's gone. You kick in another $100,000 the next year. And what about this $309,000 blip that's so obvious when you look at the audits? Okay? Open records request. Okay? Open records request. The city clerk could not give me one expense against that blip. Okay? She could not find a record, okay, of one promotional event or anything like that for that event. Fast forward, when I'm starting to find out the city's not compliant with record keeping, it doesn't meet municipal codes. Okay? Talk to Ms. Turner. She was very nice enough to show me how the city is doing things currently. And I understand where the city is going, but it's not compliant with its own municipal codes. And I said, well, here's an example of this promotion expense of $300,000+. She said, Mr. Rubel, I'll take a look at that. By the time I got home, I got email from Kim, and she said, oh, here it is. Those promotional expenses were spent on the Veterans Park. She says, it's a mystery, her email, I can produce it for you, it's a mystery why they're in that category. Now, why the council didn't find that, after I stood up and said, you're losing $1 million in 10-year period in this promotion deal, where's it going? Okay, it's going back into the general fund for expenditures that who knows where it goes. All right, so let's have some transparency and fiscal accountability. Now, not only the residents, okay, but essentially the council members. Essentially, they're so numbed by not getting information, they don't even know what to ask for. Okay? They're numbed to it. So basically, I've sat through the workshops, and I'm amazed. You guys are making millions and millions of dollars worth of decisions on the basis of what you're being presented tonight in these few minutes, and you haven't looked at the priorities for the city to judge. For example, $25,000 a year is going to tuition funds for selected city employees. $17,000 a year went for off-site training for one department whose head is no longer with us. So basically, there's a lot of places in the city that should be more transparent, because there are a lot of places in the city that we can better use the funds.
Is that open records at UCTX? And I can ask any question that should be public record.
Yes, with an open records request, you can ask for anything, okay? So you can, but you may get something back funny. So example, when I asked to see the salaries, okay? When I asked to see the salaries of all the city employees, I don't want the names, I just want the salaries, okay? The listing of the salaries. Essentially, I got back this coded information that I had to go through and do sorts and rearranges and stuff like that to essentially figure out what was kind of going on. So basically, an open records request is generally honored, and especially Kristen will work with you. And if you don't get the information back, she'll try again, type thing.
Yeah.
But if she doesn't get it, it goes immediately to Kim Turner, and to be honest, it gets filtered by Kim.
Will they let us know if there's going to be a surcharge before they fulfill it?
Yes, yes and no. The yes is that essentially citizens are actually given a certain number of dollars. I don't know what the dollar amount is. I haven't gone over it yet, and I've done a lot of open records requests. He's laughing, yeah. So I haven't gone over it yet, so basically they're obligated to get back with you in 10 business days, okay? Now they may come back with a delay, all right, but essentially they're obligated to get back with you within those 10 business days.
So the open records request and the transparency issue, I didn't know that people would pull as many open records requests as Bernie does. It's impressive. So if there is, Bernie and Richard and Ashton, maybe, I might be putting words in her mouth. No, I'm not. Feel there's a transparency issue at the city. I am happy to do whatever is the best route to make sure that it's transparent. What is that route? Do I put every aspect on the website? I mean, every single transaction, and how does this work?
Yeah, monthly. Like monthly, yeah.
Monthly expensive.
Hey, that bulletin board idea on the website might be
So
real helpful.
The reality
The
is,
city of San Antonio has an excellent public website, and stuff that is constantly being requested is put out there for free, open, and search. You don't have to request it. So anything that's repetitively asked, it's automatically put there because they see that it's being needed.
That's a good point. That's really good.
Cities, I do other states. I do open records requests. Each state is different. I sent out an open records request today. You see whose name's on that request?
Yeah.
I'm anonymous.
Yeah.
I even put Latin language in it. State of Texas allows you to request stuff anonymously unless it's of personal nature. So if you want to share that with the other people, I asked for the speed study of the machine that was out here, and any of them done back within the retention, so I can actually see what's going on. There's a special process. I also sent an email of what the state has. That information, if it's asked for regularly, like he's asked for the salaries, it should be already spreadsheeted. I sent some stuff to the city. Other cities are automatically, voluntarily sending it out. Universal City is not on the list. China Grove, Seguin, small little cities are putting all the employee positions and what they get, and it's voluntarily being submitted to the TL, Texas Municipal League website. Universal City won't put it out.
Yeah, my concern is that UC has been kind of behind the technological options out there, and that just getting up to speed with what's available and how easy it would be to put stuff on a website. Digital is king. Like this shouldn't be that hard, but it's got to get there, and I get that takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's that wheels move slow. Some wheels move slow. I know that a couple of years ago we were looking at filming council meetings, and there was a budget item that was a donation to us to do some of this, and wow, it was the last meeting we finally saw cameras from the city up in there. So sometimes they do go slow.
As just an afterthought of a recommendation is that when there are big events, we always hear the mayor thank the volunteers that were a part of those events. There is probably a lot of city business that could be done by volunteers, but we don't even know the needs or the wants or the opportunities. There's a lot of people. I don't want to serve on city council, but there are things that I can do. I am smart enough to handle, and I've got an hour or two a day that I could donate. Like there are resources within your city you are not even attempting to tap into.
What? Can I poll the audience? What's your favorite communication method? Like, would it be an email to you? Would it be like a text message? Would it be
what's in the tense? We have a group text that all of us are on.
Yeah.
Like I could send it right now and it'll hit everybody here.
So if you could sign up for a texting service, you would sign up for that.
Yeah,
we've done that, and they shut the water off last year, and nobody knew.
Emergency,
You'll get it for fireworks once a year, and that's the only text you'll ever get again.
When the city has to turn the water off in our neighborhood, we get that text too.
Sometimes,
right? Sometimes they don't text us.
Okay, does anybody else not like texting? Is there something else that would be better, like email, mail?
How would you want information from the city? Text.
So it's a good example. If you said, "Hey, we need volunteers for XYZ event. Is anybody interested?" You would like to get a text or be able to sign up for a text.
Absolutely.
With appropriate details.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Appropriate details.
I would even like the text to say, "Hey, the agenda's been posted online for the meeting."
That would be great. Or if it would be on the Facebook page.
Yeah, like sometimes things get thrown on the city page, and that's so handy because then it pops up, I see it, but it's not consistent. So, I don't know if it's just I'm not seeing it or if it's
you have
not
to Facebook
consistent.
that page. We'll
There
find
are
it again.
platforms out there that will simultaneously do both text and email.
I think we
Some
have it.
cities have it.
We do.
I think we have it.
Yeah.
We're just not
It's
using
not
it.
used.
Was very
That's what we get with the
unreliable,
meetings
and both I signed up for the phone and that. 90% of them were don't shoot your fireworks. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's all I've ever got,
So it
and I'm
was
signed
not
up.
a commitment.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're doing a great job at that. That's what I was curious. What's your favorite mode, so that we can try to attack that mode and see if we get different results.
Just one other comment about the open records request. If you're considering an open records request, address it to Kristen Mueller, our city clerk, rather than using the electronic form on the website, because the electronic form on the website doesn't always get forwarded, and you're not given a number or information that has been successfully submitted. So go directly to Kristen, just say open records request for in the header, and it'll get there and she'll work on it.
As the council works on this budget and the sales tax and things, at what point in time, when we're asking about a business plan for the golf course or the budget of where we want stuff to go, at what point in time do I no longer have to personally request that? Does that information become public knowledge so we each don't have to request it, that everybody knows?
It's like what he was saying a minute ago. Like, was that if there's so many open record requests, look for a place now on the website that it's.
Okay.
This is what they're saying, and it's a great idea.
Yes, Jack, could you give us the link?
All right, new question, and let's just lighten this up for a little bit. What was the last best movie that you've seen? Go, Bear.
Oh.
The last movie was the Mario movie.
You like it? I guess it's great. It's better than I expected. It's good throwback funnies.
But my daughter's dressed as Mario and Luigi, so it's even more fun.
I have to admit, essentially, I'm a pilot, and it has to be Top Gun.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll take
The
it.
original or the new one?
The new one.
The original. Oh, he's the original.
Well, but yeah, but the new one.
I don't really go to the movies anymore.
Well, there's
We stream. We
39
stream too.
streaming platforms for
We got big
movies.
TVs.
Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch television.
I bet they get.
Yes.
Top Gun's a good movie, though. The original. I went to movies back then.
Yeah,
I'm
great.
gonna get at least one vote from that guy.
Okay, I haven't watched a movie recently that I can think of, but I did just watch Beef on Netflix, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Was it good?
I thought it was really good.
Okay,
it was pretty
I started
messed
it,
up,
and
but
got
I
distracted,
enjoyed it.
So I haven't finished it.
You really gotta like finish it. The first episode, second episode was a little hard, but then when it ended, you were like, oh man, that's really messed up. It was pretty awesome.
All right. Interesting.
Well, my favorite movie is Road to Perdition. If you haven't seen it, I'm like really passionate about it.
It is a
Tom
good
Hanks,
movie.
Paul Newman, great soundtrack. You gotta
It's a
watch
very
it.
underrated movie for sure. That's funny. Okay, where were we going? Let's see. Oh, okay. And just in case we start getting tired and want to be out of here, give me just one thing. If you could get one thing done in the next 6 months, what would that one thing be?
Venue tax.
Okay.
More transparency. Sorry. Move out of the sun. It's killing me.
Get elected.
Love it.
Venue tax.
For my daughter, it's the treehouse.
City is.
Wow. It's that golf course plan with all of the, what we're looking for all the way through.
All right, since none of you said fix this, you can all go now.
Are dismissed. No. Okay, so what about plans? Is there a plan for bridging across?
Yeah, do you know anything about that?
So, forgive me, I may blow this. My memory is on this one is not 100%. I know that we looked at having a bridge across.
Was that the point of annexing that little bit on the other side?
That was our ETJ forever. That's been in our ETJ as long as I know.
What was the point just for that little bit? Okay.
We had it, and
available.
Yeah, it was UC realizing they were landlocked and then trying to make moves to get out and not moving quick enough.
Right.
Oddly.
Right.
But I know that we were doing the emergency road for the emergency vehicles, and then the budget for that bridge with the MPO. We did not get funding whenever we went after that. MPO is Metropolitan Planning Organization, and they help fund things like that. And that was not a selected project.
All right. You guys mentioned streets was mentioned a lot at the meeting. In streets, what is it you really want done with our streets? Like, what do you mean by a streets tax, or to shift money to streets? What does that actually mean to you?
So what I'm interested in looking at, because I don't know all of the rules and regulations around it, is that venue tax. If we can split it into different pieces of a pie, and and then have some of that going to different areas instead of it being focused. That's the direction I'm going to ask that we can look into.
Would you be more streets and less golf course, or half and half-ish? Like, where do you think you might land on that?
If we had those numbers for the improvement and the timeline at the golf course, I could answer that. But again, the streets if it's a venue tax for streets, it'll have to come back every few years, right? To be voted on. So if we looked at 1 year, it's a little heavier here and lighter on the streets, but then in 4 years, that comes back up. So
at least you're not locked in.
Yeah.
Basically, the venue tax, my first impression is that it should go back into essentially the residents' pockets, okay? Now, that being said, I realize that is probably not going to happen, all right? So what would that mean? That would mean $1.6 to $1.8 million back in residents' pockets every year. Now, Bear will say, well, that's a sales tax, and we get some of that money from outside of the city. Yes, but we spend money outside of the city too, so that's not an argument. Consider $1.6 to $1.8 million per year. That's a lot of speed bumps.
At Buck's price, that's 113 speed bumps.
Price needs to go away.
No, I told you could get them on Amazon for $100.
Then y'all need to find. He got quoted $15,000 per speed bump.
Who said that?
But
okay,
if that's y'all's price,
we're assuming he's
then y'all need to.
Hold on, because
We're
it
just
correlates
making
with that.
those.
If we're already doing the
Obviously.
streets,
But if you're already doing
wouldn't it be easier to put a
streets,
speed bump in while you're already there?
Correct.
Like when you're at
Sorry.
Walmart and you need eggs
Sorry, I
and basketball
apologize.
shorts, don't you buy basketball shorts there
way to
too?
go, Todd.
No,
Good job.
you have approved, voted for $30 million in street repairs. You have presented with approximately 100 streets. You also should know that there are streets that were on a 2009 survey that were identified as being critical that have never been addressed and haven't even made it to that list. Now, you should also know that your public works director says it takes about $1 million to go down to base and do a block of streets these days.
I thought it said a mile. $1
million
a mile.
$1 million, okay.
Can we get some outside engineering surveys on that? 'Cause
oh, it's all outside.
Does that tie with the competitive bidding?
It's professional services.
Good question.
With the trash cans or whatnot? Like
Well, no,
with the...
Go. I'm not going to.
Let me stay on the roads for just a little bit. Okay, so basically out of the 100 roads that are going to be quote unquote fixed, all right, there's only going to be money for a fraction of that, all right? Now, consider this $1.8 million or $1.6 million over a 10-year period, all right? That is half of what your bonds are, the bond issue that you approved. Okay, if that went to streets, that would be wonderful. Now, I'm going to lean on the EDC a little bit and say they're getting the same amount of money. So if you add the EDC money with that venue tax money, you would not have had to pay for the $30 million. You'd be $6 million plus.
The EDC can do some road improvement, though, can they?
Yeah, it's in the chart. It's in the thing that it's responsible for North Lake.
So.
Yeah, because we've got roads here in Universal City that I don't want to drive my Wrangler down unless I'm in four-wheel load. But let's not forget our alleys, because I have not given up on the hope of getting my alleyway trash returned.
Me neither, man.
Okay? And for those who aren't fortunate enough to have alleys, maybe you'd like to have a choice between size of containers that you have to push out to the street.
we are alley people. We
are fully on
Oh.
board with that whole conversation. We understand.
Yeah.
We have had our venting sessions.
Well, I am here today because of that waste management contract way back when.
Had it for 20 years. And it got
It lit me up and I haven't gone out yet. But that contract comes up in 3 years, I think. Somewhere about. And some of the complaints were the condition of the alleys. So it'd be nice to address and build towards that in the event that we actually had competitive bids and someone came through with something and did offer alleyway trash pickup and variable size trash cans. Okay? And that to me, roads are critical infrastructure. The golf course isn't. I mean, I love our parks, but they're not critical infrastructure. The roads, the alleys, and how about this? The city adamantly refuses to be responsible for sidewalks. Now, we don't have them. I don't have them. But a sidewalk is a public right-of-way. It's an outrage to force a homeowner to fix their own sidewalk. That's just wrong. Okay? That's city policy. So, no. Oh, by the way, though, I think there is some government program for people who want sidewalks, that the government actually helps fund the sidewalks going in. I don't like having a sidewalk in front. I'm glad I don't have one. It's less edging. It's easier to mow. And I live on Trudy, and although there are quite a few people go above 20 miles an hour, it's still relatively safe to walk up and down. So.
What streets mean to me? That's the question again. All right. Streets mean to me, same thing. Like, we just have a lot in Universal City that are in need of repair. I believe streets come before a lot of other things. I would disagree with some people that say, you know, the golf course comes before the streets. I disagree. Not everyone uses the golf course. I think that our streets need to be looked at. For you guys specifically, for your street and the safety that you guys are looking into and the speed bumps that you guys would like, I think you guys do need that safety study first. I think you need to get your open records on whatever that trailer said, how many people. I would like to personally know how many people were going like 40, how many people were going 50, how many people were going 10. Like, I want that broken down for you guys, because I think...
But they said it right next to that ditch.
So
Part of it was that it was not really.
Yeah.
There was this was a
I'm right.
false
I'm
study because they put the trailer
Before they would be
right there.
at full speed.
Okay.
So I can't
been
go
Right where that
over
pink
here
sign is.
from
Because
there
you
to
can't
there.
turn, because yeah, I
If they
drove
put the
this.
trailer back there, it would
Okay.
have caught people going 30 and 40.
Yeah.
But they put it where
Right
you can
in the
see it,
practically
not
the
on the
turn.
blind turn.
Okay.
And then when they turned it around,
Well,
they
no,
put
In
it
addition
on
to,
that
they go on
side.
average, right?
So it was that study.
So we
has
need a new one.
Zero
So
credibility.
we should do a new one. Okay. So I guess I don't care about that one. Let's just get you a new one. How's that? Let's just get you a new one, and then we can actually figure out like what your guys' number is, what not. I don't like the idea of like an average, because that doesn't really help me. Like, an average doesn't tell me anything. I'd like to know how many speeders do you have, what speed are they going, and I would like it all broken down. That way we could actually help you guys with exactly what you're looking for, and then figure out where to go from there. But I think you guys have a lot of steps that you will have to take, and I'm willing to help you take. But I think we have to take a lot of those steps. And like Phil said, come to City Council, put it on the agenda, bring it up. There's so many of you sitting here. Every single one of you can come to City Council and use your 3 minutes, one after another, after another, after another. You want to show City Council that you care, stack yourselves up and start telling them that, you know, there's this many citizens on this street who are concerned. That way you have people on council who go, oh wow, this is like a serious issue, and these people have all banded together and they care and they're ready. And then they can help you figure out next steps too. Randy can help you figure out steps. Police department can help you figure out steps, because I don't have all those answers. I don't know what all your steps are going to be, but I bet you know, we can figure it out as a whole city. And it wouldn't be, I think you guys, like you said, would almost be a good case study, because it wouldn't just be you guys would be affecting all of your neighborhoods to change. So if you guys have this issue, and then other streets can see, okay, well, these are the steps that they can take. They took all the, I mean, be the leaders, be the people that come first, so that you can help the rest of your neighborhood and everyone else in Universal City affect that change first. But you guys gotta walk us through it, you know, like, because I just came here today. I don't know any of you from anywhere, so I don't even know what your street was. I don't even know what's down there. I just had to ask Phil. I'm like, what's down there? Like, I don't drive down here. Like, So, yeah, so
Subdivision coming through that's going to be.
gonna go this way. So like I said, obviously I need to drive it because I don't know. I'm a little blindsided, but
But there is one street through to Kitty Hawk.
okay, so it has to come through here.
You just became a mayor.
Okay.
When that street gets backed up,
Is
they're
it
gonna
400
going to either that street that's back there, or which is Madison, which is right in front of our house.
Yeah. Okay, like I said, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we could get you guys the correct study, if we could get you guys in front of city council, if we could get people smarter than Ashton who actually know everything about streets, because I sure as heck don't. But if we can get everyone that knows everything about streets to take you guys seriously and get you guys some actual answers, I think that's what you're all looking for, right? Like, everyone would be in agreement here that we're looking for, like, what are the next steps for our street so that we can continue forward, because I can't just be like, yes, let's put speed bumps here and you're going to get them and that's it, and I'm going to make my entire platform about you guys getting. I can't do that. I wish I could, but like I can't do that. So I just want to get you guys all the steps though. So obviously you can email me, you can keep me in the loop, you can send me. Where'd that dude go?
I got you.
Okay, wherever I would like to see that. Like, I would like to see like who you've talked to, where you've been, see if I can help you, because I know a lot of department heads and I'm not afraid to go knock on some doors and make some change. So give me it all, you know what I mean? I can't help you unless I have it.
We
but-
were told when the police department showed up that we can't have cones, they impede the flow of traffic. Doesn't matter what's hit by a car, they will come and check it out. We were told to be the squeaky wheels, and that the best way to get answers to the questions that we had was to bring y'all out here.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's awesome. Some of us aren't on council yet, though, so we can't really, I mean, God, heaven help, but like some of us aren't on council yet, so we can't help, but you have good people here who are obviously, hopefully willing to help you, but like I said, you guys gotta keep some of the people already on council in the loop so that they can help you.
Yeah.
Did I hear you say that you sit on the EDC and the city council?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that typical of every city council member?
No, ma'am.
Is that voted in or appointed? The EDC.
How
The
big
city
is
council,
the
you guys are
EDC?
voted in as city council. How do you get appointed to EDC council?
You get appointed.
Yeah, you get appointed. Basically, the EDC appoints itself. So
Because y'all started it and counted it, is that why?
Right,
or-
because I'm an architect, and so I had some clients that were here, and there's a EDC. There's city money to help you with your storefront improvement. So I went to the EDC.
Because of your business that you already own, that's how you were able to get on free.
So I knew about it, and then so I followed it, and then I talking to the guys. One of them was getting ready to get off of it.
I'm sorry, I'm a pig.
How do I get on this board? This is fantastic. Being able to help these businesses, this is fantastic. So yeah, I would love to be on this board. And they said, well, I'm getting off, and there's no other applicants. So would you like to be on it? And that was it for me. So it's a basically self-appointed board, and you can have a percentage of them being on EDC and council.
So a
How
leading
big is
member
the board?
gets to appoint
6
their
of us, and
successor.
6.
The
5.
mayor technically picks.
They get applications.
He proposes it to council, and council will vote yes or no on if it's
Like,
appointed.
did they advertise nominations or anything like that, or?
You can apply.
We haven't
You can
had-
apply on the
Is there
website.
another one?
Hey, there's a bathroom.
Oh, there is a bathroom.
There's a bathroom in the garage.
Yeah. Hey, let's take everybody want to pause so we can take a quick drink and go to the restroom? Yeah.
We can always use some more.
There's pie, there's restrooms, there's water. Take a 5-10 minute break. We'll be right back.
I respond to every email I get, so I'm
Occupying bear over there.
He's right back there.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. Come on, we got a couple more questions.
All right, Pete, you're gonna have to save it. We need bear over here.
You and your doppelganger, stop it.
All right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's
Here we
We're
go.
gonna have to ask him if he has a Hawaiian shirt. We don't have a Hawaiian shirt day.
All right. This is a real quick question, because if you know it, then you'll have the answer. So it'll be. What is the city's bond rating at this time? Do you know what's?
We're AA, but we would be like AAA if we were a bigger city.
Okay.
We're as big as we. It's good as
It's
we
as
can
good
get.
as it gets.
It's good as it gets.
Okay.
double A plus. Double A plus. Yeah, double A plus, and essentially we've got a positive value. Okay, I'm gonna stumble over this. A positive net value of somewhere around $17 million. You'll probably correct me in the end there, but essentially the city's actually in pretty good shape financially and bond-wise, which will ultimately lead to what are we doing with our reserves, and I'm sure that's going to be talked about at the end there.
All right.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Double A plus.
All right, so what needs to be done to bring in more businesses like restaurants, grocery stores to UC? And B, are building codes or tax restrictions deterring new businesses?
Okay, so remember, I work with a lot of contractors. For years, contractors hated Universal City. I hated Universal City when I first started because of that. Permit process, inspections, those two were horrible. Since over the last, I want to say 4 years, it has changed for people who work in UC. There are people that that have come back to do things in UC, and it has totally changed. And I mean, unfortunately, I can't give you an exact because I have a city council I'm on city council. So whenever I'm working on a project, I can't tell you that the experience I have is great. So I talk to other people, and it's a matter of my contractor working with staff. If my contractor says, what do you mean? This is how it's always done. Staff says, this is what the building code is. Building code is life, safety, and welfare. I fought it, and I understand it. I lost. And so, but I knew I was in the wrong, but I was going to fight for something that I wanted. It happens. Contractors will now turn around and say, well, Universal City is a horrible place to build because of that. Work with staff, and life is so much easier. And you can get anything done that is allowed in the code. So that side of it, there are still people that say it's hard to work in UC. But I feel like we've made a great change. Our current code official has really done a lot of meetings with people to change the outlook of Universal City that I see. Homeowners and things, we get frustrated. I have to pull a permit for X, Y, and Z. I get it. We have argued back and forth about the fence permit. The fee for a fence permit is, the state passed a law, and we couldn't have like levels of fees. It had to be this. So right now the issue is I have to pay $85 for a fee permit for a fence. It's frustrating. We're talking about it. I'm arguing with staff.
There's another part to that. Oh,
to bring businesses in. So I know a lot of us were very unhappy with this area back here. I know a lot of people are frustrated with that. But what that is doing is that is putting nearly 300 houses of a higher income bracket into a community, which is what restaurants and retail spaces look for. The restaurants and retail places, they want that disposable income. Universal City has not had that for a long time. So that's what we're doing. That's why we're focusing on the two ends, and then what we call nodes of opportunities throughout Pat Booker and the city.
So you're saying more residents will make it more attractive for businesses?
More higher income residents.
So,
Disposable
more
income.
expensive houses means people with more money for better
Yes, ma'am.
business. All right.
Can you pass down to me real quick? Sorry.
She can't wait.
I hate sitting on the end. I can't wait. She doesn't have any patience.
All right. When it comes to what can bring in more businesses, I firmly believe that is on the responsibility and the shoulders of the mayor and the EDC. I feel like our mayor should be the cheerleader for Universal City, come and be here. This is a wonderful place to be. You should want to put up a business here. And I feel like we might be lacking that component a little bit. I feel like maybe some of that passion has gone out, and I feel like you need someone that's going to be a cheerleader for the city in that aspect that brings people in. The other part that really upsets me about Universal City is all we ever talk about is new, new, new. We need to bring in this. We need to bring in that. We need to bring in all this new stuff. But guess what? If I was a new business coming into Universal City, you know what my first due diligence would be? Talk to the old businesses and ask them, how's Universal City been treating you? How's it having a business here? What are you seeing? What do you like? And I find like that's the missing component. The city is so focused on bringing in all this new that sometimes we forget about the businesses that are currently already here. I feel like that's the job and the responsibility of our EDC board to make sure that we are going to those businesses. I can't tell you how many businesses have zero clue that we have an EDC, that EDC can help out with signage, that EDC can help make those businesses look nicer than what they currently look like. That is a huge, giant misstep for the EDC. Every single business that's in Universal City should get a welcome wagon when they come in, and they should know this is all the things that the EDC does. This is how we can help you. We can use our social media. Why is our Facebook, the City of Universal City page, not promoting a business every single week? Why are they not highlighting for all the citizens to see one business every single week? Why does the EDC not have a Facebook page? Tons of other towns have a Facebook page of their EDC where it tells you all the new and exciting businesses that are in EDC, existing businesses, sales that they're having. There is zero marketing done, I feel like, for Universal City. And I think that that's a great way to bring in businesses. The other aspect is permits. It makes it hard. I've talked to business owners who've said, this is real hard to get in here. There's too many hoops. I'm not going to deal with it. I personally had to get a roof done, and that was super annoying and not fun and very frustrating, so I understand that. But I think it lies on being a cheerleader for the city and getting out that information, which once again just goes back to transparency. Make your EDC promote businesses, make your city promote businesses, and then that makes it more appetizing for more people to come in, as opposed to just keep building new, because guess what? 20 years down the road, those new businesses are going to be empty like Pat Booker now if we don't solve the actual systemic problem.
Who approves the businesses that come in?
If it falls within, if it's a business that's going into that zone, if it's zoned appropriate for that business, it's an automatic. I mean, there are certain things that are automatically approved. Other items, if I wanted to put a bar right here,
that's because with it.
Yeah, they have
so many needed children and all that.
Yeah, and if as soon as the city tells them no, they do have the ability to legally go to the Board of Adjustments and state their case.
Why do we have so many vape shops?
The same reason we used to have a lot of automotive shops. Vape shops, chicken places, and car washes.
They don't have to be.
They fall within that retail category.
But is there a point where we can have so many that we can stop saying, like is 10 enough, and then we can just say no to the rest of them? It just feels like we can't possibly be supporting them all. Okay, I was sure. I didn't know if that was a Kim Turner thing, or if it's just that it falls in and it's automatically whoever will pay the bill that they get to move in. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, as far as businesses coming in and the EDC as well, the Aviation District Master Plan is not something I'm in love with. I love the idea, but from what I can tell, the plan is horrible. However, one of my ideas that makes it a better plan to me, you've got businesses, like speaking of automotive businesses, there are at least 3 of them right there that are going to be underneath a hotel that's planned. Now, I don't know how friendly and encouraging the city is being to get these people to give up their property and move on, but you know what? There's a lot of vacant field in North Lake. And I think if the EDC offered them really big carrots to move their business into North Lake, not only would they keep that business, but then the businesses that are coming in to the freshly vacuumed and rebuilt area adds to the business. Okay? Aviation District needs to be revitalized. There's a reason. It's the oldest pretty much district in town because it's the best place to be. But from a logistics standpoint, okay?
talking about best.
Okay.
I think this is the best way.
Yes. I'm talking about businesses and such. From a long distance, you've got the base traffic and everything else. But the end never justifies the means. It needs to be done morally, properly. It's going to take more time, be more work, cost more money. But rather than displacing people, we should help to relocate them over to where it's going to be better for them and better for us.
Are we forcing?
We are not forcing anybody out, Richard. There is nobody.
What happened to Cibolo's Hardware?
Cibolo's Hardware was not compliant with the current code.
Yeah.
And whenever if the family would have taken it over, that would have stayed within the family and it could have continued. But once another entity comes to purchase it, it has to be redone. We did not shut that down. We told them, put a fire suppression system in it. This is a death trap. It's a 50-year-old building that has poor exits and a lot of flammable. Put in a fire suppression system. Nobody wanted to take a 50-year-old building and do that there. Developers, so capitalism at work, 7-Eleven says, fantastic, excellent location, lots of land. I can make this work, not in that building. Sorry.
Well, that's finally the full story that I've been missing a few details on.
I'm sorry, Richard.
I can't help but agree with everything he said because so much of it I already knew. Okay, but speaking of ordinances, building and safety codes, all these stuff, okay, where are they coming from? Whose ideas are they? Because while getting advice from knowledgeable sources, like maybe the International Code Council, should be just only advice. All of our rules, regulations, codes, ordinances, everything should be custom tailored to Universal City, period. We should not have any repressive, overly safe codes or anything. I mean, who all's bought a chainsaw in the last 10 or 20 years? Okay? What's that little sticker up on the chain? Do not touch while operating. Is that really necessary? I think Darwin's Law should be allowed to exist. Okay? And we should be allowed a little more freedom with our personal property. All right? This is my opinion. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition. Hopefully it's legal. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to owner-occupied residential property, unless safety is a valid concern, no permit should be required. The county tax assessor can do their own work. Why are we paying to inform them and paying the city to come out and inspect? You ever had your roof done? Did the inspector climb up on your roof and make sure it was properly put in? No. If your home was old enough, they want to come inside the house. Make sure you've got grounded outlets and smoke detectors and...
That's a whole kind of different issue. But did Mr. Rubal or Mr. Vaughn, did y'all want to speak to the businesses, bringing businesses in, or that was the question?
Wow.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, basically, the gateway to Randolph Air Force Base is Pat Booker Road. The gateway to Randolph Air Force Base is Pat Booker Road. Take a look at what's on Pat Booker Road. All right? Now, we are not going to be able to compete for the restaurants that are on I-35. What would happen now if Pat Booker Road turned into professional offices with just a coffee shop here and there? All right? Why did I move to Universal City? I moved to Universal City to live here. So do we need extensive commercial operations? No. Do we need a place that has family homes instead of rental properties? Yes. And right now, we're in the tipping point. I think the direction the current council has pushed us to is we will finally get to the point where they may like it, where there's more tax revenue, but we've got to the point where there are less individually owned properties than there are rental properties.
Well,
rental
they're about to fix
households.
that with the 300
Rental
that
households.
the
So
Deterring
essentially,
Council approved.
Essentially we've been sold out a little bit by the Economic Development Board because they've shifted from looking for commercial stuff along 1604 to apartments, okay? And if you were to take a look at the original parks plan from 2013, where they had a sports center, beautiful deal, that should have been the new center of town, which would have been the natural place to put restaurants around the parks, okay? Around the new parks. Not one park member, probably not one city council member, ever walked the property that they talked the citizens of Universal City into selling because we're landlocked. That was our value. A commanding overlook of Randolph Air Force Base, a look at the pond beside Phil's place, a walkway between there and for the people, a walkway between there and HEB and so forth. Now that walkway is going to get there, but it's going to serve that high density community, not you.
Yeah, I'm real short and sweet on this one. I just think we need to get our taxes low and our infrastructure good, and the businesses will come.
Yep.
We're not smart enough to pick the ones that are the right businesses for us. They need to pick that for themselves. I kind of like our town. I don't look at it and think it's crappy on Pat Booker. Maybe we just need a little bit of tweaks, but if we put the right environment in place, it'll come. We don't need to force it.
I like that.
Mike, we should have made the loop, right? You also the bike ride?
Yeah, they should.
Boy, should already make the loop, right?
I
didn't
saw them already. I think that did it again. What is the average airspeed of an unladen swallow?
Unladen swallow.
An unladen. I don't even know what that means. I know what swallow means. I do not know what unladen means. He's not carrying anything. No, he's not heavy burdened. No, laden.
We were hoping the pilot could answer.
Yes.
Well, the pilot can't answer.
Okay.
I'll defer.
What was the answer?
What is the average airspeed of an unladen swallow?
The blue one or the white one?
There we go.
There we have at least one modified like
It was a Monty
That was a
Python
Monty
reference.
Python joke.
Sorry. Made it way.
I thought it was an actual airspeed question, so I was really thinking, because it off and
There actually is an answer. It's 33 miles an hour, but they never really said that.
I put that in there to see who had a sense of humor.
Okay, can you give us a list of things that the city used funding extra money for over the past year, and who decides the use of funds?
You're over my head.
2, 3. How many are there?
4. 1, 2, 3.
I know that the extra funds were used for Veterans Park. I think we've got the playground going in out there. I know that we added that extra police officer. I'm trying to think of what that wish list was last year, and I cannot remember.
Speaking of Veterans Park, do we know what the homeless population of UC is at this point?
Did y'all know that that has become an issue?
I haven't seen them at Veterans, but you go right up the street there, whatever that street's called, under the bridge.
Oh, yeah.
They camp out there, but they just cleaned it out recently.
Okay, yeah,
So-
I had no idea that that was the whole thing, but apparently
I think there's a
it is.
there's a
they
small
got
And,
there.
and the bridge and the
They're
street.
in front of the 7-Eleven,
They've
right there
been
on
back
top
in
of
our
Yeah, because when I saw him at the Junkie Joe's, I mean, I immediately called up to the police station. It was like, guys, this can't be here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were crossing the little bridge. heading from 15, 18.
With no services.
And like there was a
for
gal laying
houseless people
on the
and you
side
see
of the
what is
bridge,
standard
just
operating
watching
procedure
traffic
for-
go by. And I was like, oh my god.
I have
Like
no
on the
idea.
edge, on the edge
I'm
of the
sorry,
bridge road.
can't-
I was like,
I don't know
what
what
is
that
happening?
process is. I know that when
Okay.
we had somebody, when we were building our office, we had somebody that spent the night in there while we were building it. The police officer said, okay, we're going to trespass you.
Right.
So please find somewhere else, and then we didn't have
Well, I
to
mean,
do
we've lived here for 10 years. I know when we moved here, I might see one person, like a traveler, every now and then.
Yeah.
But it was very rare, right?
Yeah, to see him
and
camping
now my
out is
understanding is that there
new.
are small encampments occasionally.
Yeah.
But like, there's nowhere you can refer them to out here.
I'm sure the county.
But this is not a criminal issue.
Right. I'm sure the county. I'm sure the county has something to handle that.
Okay.
I just.
Well, loitering
as far
and
as
vagrancy
the
is
police force. I don't think we.
minor.
Okay, let's some personal insight. They're vagrants, and not only in Junkman Joe's, they go across the street, and they're behind the cleaners there, right across the street. You look at the back of that property, and essentially there's everything back there. It's been reported to me by ladies that walk Pat Booker Street that there's public urination there a lot of the times. But it's also been pointed out to council recently that there's urination in the golf course.
I was thinking about that.
Somebody,
My backyard too.
Visible from the hotel.
So the point of that is, one, it's along Pat Booker. Number two, under the 78 bridge, absolutely. Number three, what I'll call is Comanche Caves. I don't know if that's the right name. The Indian Caves. I knew a couple that lived there for almost 6 months, and essentially, when I'd walk the dog, I'd meet the young lady, and she'd use the restrooms at Red Horse Park when it opened, and then she'd go back, type thing. Here's another kicker for you. Go to Veterans Park, and you'll see a blue car with duct tape on it, parked to one side, and you'll see a red little compact car on the other side. Okay, those ladies are over 65 years old. They're on an income of approximately $1,500 a month. I've talked with them. They spend their days in Veterans Park, and then, if it's too hot, they have, get this, a membership of Planet Fitness. It's only $10, so they go in there for air conditioning, and they're out in the parking lot at night. So these are ladies. One was an elementary school teacher, okay, who didn't retire because she had to take care of her mom. So I've talked to some of these people. We've got some real needs here. And basically, we need to mobilize some of our faith-based organizations.
That's what I was gonna say. The churches have some of those resources. That's who you're gonna want to go to, especially churches that are big into community and things like that. I personally attend Grace Community, and I know that's their main mission is community. My kids go to church there every Tuesday, and that's what they're preached. So I think with what you're saying is like, yeah, it's obviously part of it's on the city, but also like, talk to those churches, ask them what programs they have for those people, because they are out there. It's just probably not common knowledge to the average person.
Yeah, good to know.
All right, it's almost 6 o'clock. Let's bring this to an end. We really appreciate you guys coming out, you candidates for the city council and our current members of council. Thank you for coming out and being here for this discussion, even though sometimes we're talking about you, and that's okay. Yeah, so I do really appreciate that.
One request.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a picture of somebody's cell phone with 4 of us, 5 of us.
Wow.
All right.
Moving right out of there, Bear.
I thought you were smart.
Which 4 are we talking about?
Here, I'm gonna move this chair back. Okay. Yeah, I'll squeeze in. We'll let Simon's right on here.
All right. Don't squint on 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This was so fun, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to say I brought signs if anyone wants to help me reach that sign goal for your yard if you'd like one. Just throwing that out there.
Also, over here at my house, my pool is heated. It's 81 degrees. If you guys want to go swimming, it will be open. I'll be over there. So yeah, you guys are welcome to come. Anybody?
Hang out,
Anybody?
eat some
Everybody?
pie. Eat some pie. We got plenty of pie. Thank you so much. Eat some pie. We got 9 more pie.
Well, this was good.
I know, right?